In exactly 1 year, France will have a new president. But is the upcoming election a threat to Europe? And why should you care about it? I'm Baptiste, and this is EU Democracy Impact. Let's start with what we know. After 2 terms, Macron cannot stand for re-election, and that creates a great deal of uncertainty, even more than usual. The first uncertainty is related to the large pool of candidates in this election. And in the polls, no one seems to be putting clearly ahead, apart from the far right, the National Rally. The French system brings the top 2 candidates from the first round of voting together in the second round. Given the very likely prospect of the far right candidate reaching the second round, this motivates other candidates to run. Because in their view, voters would inevitably fall back on the candidate opposing the far right, and thus make an easy victory. But this is a big gamble, and at best, the polls are suggesting a close call. Furthermore, as no candidate currently stands out, the threshold to reach the second round is very low, which is prompting candidates to try their luck individually without forming alliances. A second source of uncertainty comes from the National Rally itself. On the 7th of July, the Court of Appeal will decide whether to confirm or not Marine Le Pen's 5-year ineligibility for misappropriation of European Parliament funds. In this case, her number 2, 30-year-old MEP Jordan Bardella will likely take over. And the National Rally's policy towards Europe is also very ambiguous. Bardella recently stated that, if elected, his first trip would be to Brussels to confront the European Commission, which, in his view, favors too much other countries. Marine Le Pen has gradually toned down her rhetoric on leaving the Euro, the EU, and NATO. But in the few cities in France that they already control, their aggressive policies towards the opposition, the poorest, and the foreigners show that this softening is mainly rhetorical. The National Rally has recently distanced itself from Germany's far-right AfD or the MAGA movement, but it's still maintaining close ties with other Eurosceptic parties like the League in Italy or the Fidesz in Hungary. Also, it tries to align itself with the Reform Party in the UK of Nigel Farage. At the national level, the new president will need a parliamentary majority to implement their program. And this is where lies the last bit of uncertainty. Should France have a National Rally president, it remains to be seen whether the traditional right, which has almost always been in the control of the Senate and is gradually leaning further right, will be willing to collaborate or not with the far right. At the same time, if France gets a left-wing president, their room for maneuver will be limited. Likewise, the next president will have to work with the French National Assembly, which currently lacks a clear majority, or also call for its early election, but again, with unpredictable results. Whoever becomes president will have a lot of power to influence the EU decision-making process, including EU stance on foreign policy, security, and defense.